At times, when it seems you have no enemies, your own words can turn traitor. Right now, someone is skillfully using your very own words to destroy you. Like strategists, they convene in secret rooms, plotting your downfall, and wielding phrases you uttered months ago as weapons. That innocent joke that slipped from your tongue transforms into undeniable evidence against you. A secret you once shared becomes powerful leverage in their cunning hands, and a fleeting moment of weakness opens a direct path to their victory. People are prone to mistakenly believe that their words dissolve into thin air, vanishing without a trace. They naively trust that others quickly forget what was said, and that their conversations remain completely safe. However, this is one of the most dangerous delusions prevalent in modern life. History offers numerous examples of successful individuals who suffered defeat precisely because of words they later desperately wished they could retract. Countless empires crumbled because someone dared to say too much, and many strong friendships were severed because trust was irrevocably shattered by loose tongues. Ancient sages grasped a truth that modern society seems to have lost. Your mouth is your most dangerous enemy. It mercilessly reveals your secrets, exposes your vulnerabilities, and hands your adversaries exactly what they need for ultimate victory. Niccolò Machiavelli dedicated his life to studying the nature of power. In his research, he uncovered an ultimate truth. Those who can control their words also control their destiny. Those who lack this skill inevitably become victims of their own voice. In the next few minutes, 10 psychological traps that turn your mouth into your executioner will be revealed. These situations, unfortunately, happen to everyone, but only the wise can recognize them before it's too late. The maxim, I speak only to win. Number 1. The revelation of anger. Anger is like a truth serum, a potent elixir that dismantles defensive barriers. When rage completely overtakes a person, their brain instantly disables its internal security system, and their mouth transforms into a confessional. Every offense silently endured, every resentment carefully concealed, every dark thought suppressed. All of it erupts like poison, contaminating the air. The person who provoked your anger at that moment is not your direct enemy. They become your interrogator, skillfully extracting information. They have just discovered the quickest and most effective way to uncover your deepest truths. While you are consumed by the righteousness of your rage, they are diligently gathering intelligence on who you truly are beneath the facade. Anger makes you remarkably predictable. Once someone understands what makes you explode, they gain power over you. They can deliberately trigger your fury whenever they need you to reveal something, make a mistake, or completely destroy your own reputation. Your anger becomes their remote control, allowing them to manipulate you. The most dangerous aspect is not so much what you say in a fit of rage, but rather who hears it. Your fleeting moment of anger becomes their permanent record of your character. Your temporary loss of control transforms into their undeniable evidence against you. Niccolò Machiavelli once astutely observed, "He who desires to be obeyed must know how to command." Command begins with self-command. If a person cannot control their own mouth when under the sway of anger, they will never be able to control anything else of true significance. Your rage is not righteous. It is merely weakness cunningly disguised as strength. Powerful individuals certainly feel anger, but they never display it openly. They experience rage in private, in solitude, and react purely strategically. They understand perfectly well that today's emotional outburst inevitably becomes tomorrow's ammunition for their enemies. The maxim, my anger serves me. Number 2. The victory parade. Success, as is well known, intoxicates a person far more than any strong alcohol. When an individual triumphs, their ego immediately demands its due recognition. An irresistible urge arises for thunderous applause for their own genius, and a thirst for praise for a masterfully crafted strategy. The person needs absolutely everyone around them to realize how cleverly and calculatingly they acted. However, it is this insatiable need for validation that causes the downfall of far more victors than even the bitterest. Failure ever could. Every explanation given for one's success transforms into a detailed textbook for all competitors. Every revelation of a carefully developed strategy becomes nothing less than a roadmap for those eager to defeat you. Every minute detail you share about your methods instantly transforms into a ready-made blueprint for your potential successor. The irresistible craving for recognition is a cunning trap, capable of ensnaring even the most brilliant minds. Such individuals simply cannot resist the temptation to explain their genius. They cannot remain silent about their triumphs. Consequently, with every word uttered, they transform from mysterious and invincible victors into completely transparent and vulnerable losers. Your competitors, unlike your supporters, do not celebrate your success at all. On the contrary, they meticulously study it. They are not impressed by your achievements. Instead, they actively reverse engineer, dissecting your every move. They are not your admiring audience. They represent your future opposition, who will be armed with your own carelessly divulged information. Niccolò Machiavelli once very astutely observed, "A wise ruler ought never to keep his word when to do so would turn against his interests." Telling the story of your success is, in essence, an attempt to maintain loyalty to those who supported you, but it completely contradicts your interests, as you are effectively training your enemies. Your true loyalty should be directed towards your future victories, not the idle curiosity of your past supporters. True masters celebrate their achievements internally, deep within their souls, and only utter words aloud in situations where silence could create significantly more problems than candor. They perfectly understand that secrecy is the cornerstone that upholds power, while excessive explanations inevitably destroy it. The maxim, "Victory speaks silently." Number 3. Liquid confession. Alcohol, contrary to popular belief, is not a source of new thoughts. Its true function lies in removing those mental barriers that usually keep dangerous and imprudent thoughts hidden. Each sip of alcohol weakens an individual's internal security system. Each drink lowers their guard. Each emptied bottle turns a person into a valuable source of intelligence for anyone clever enough to remain sober. The most valuable secrets are extracted not through torture, but often through wine. Under the influence of alcohol, people confess their transgressions, thoughtlessly reveal strategic plans, admit their hidden fears, and expose their long-term intentions when inhibitions completely vanish. What might have taken years of painstaking observation to learn is often discovered in a single drunken evening. Professional manipulators are virtuosos of what's called liquid interrogation. They skillfully create a maximally comfortable and relaxing atmosphere, offer an endless supply of drinks, and ask seemingly innocent questions until their targets gradually become more and more talkative. These manipulators, remember absolutely everything, while you forget every word uttered. Your drunken confessions inevitably lead to sober, very unpleasant consequences. That casual admission about relationship problems suddenly becomes irrefutable evidence in a divorce proceeding. That revelation about business difficulties transforms into invaluable information for competitors. That fleeting moment of honesty ultimately turns into a lifelong regret. Machiavelli once stated, "Therefore, a prince, so long as he keeps his subjects united and loyal, ought not to mind being called cruel." Be ruthless towards your own internal impulses, especially when alcohol flows. Your temporary desire to socialize and confess will create permanent and irreparable damage to your position. The instant gratification of sharing secrets ultimately leads to the lasting pain of exposure. Smart people drink strategically, carefully considering every step, or don't drink at all. They understand perfectly well that in today's world, where everyone has recording devices, every intoxicated word can become irrefutable evidence. In high-stakes situations, they invariably choose clarity of mind over the momentary desire to connect. The maxim, "Clarity is my strength." Number 4. The breaking point. High pressure is the true catalyst that reveals a person's authentic essence, and it often turns out that the internal resilience of many is significantly less than they might have imagined. When stress mounts, critical deadlines approach, and expectations from others increase, the thin veil of civility inevitably drops. What is revealed is often unflattering, weak, and perfectly suited for exploitation by those who deeply understand the intricacies of human psychology. Stressful situations inevitably engender a sense of despair, which, in turn, leads to candid confessions. Under the weight of circumstances, people are prone to admit their incompetence, reveal their difficulties, and confess failures. They sincerely believe they are seeking support and comfort, but in reality, they merely provide their potential adversaries with invaluable information for a targeted strike. The most dangerous confessions made under stress are addressed to those in a person's immediate circle. Thus, they share their work problems with family, tell friends about difficulties in personal relationships, and confide their own shortcomings to colleagues. Each such revelation creates a vulnerability that can be ruthlessly exploited against them in the future. Therefore, a person's breaking point is not a moment of sincerity or authenticity. It is, rather, a moment of potential exploitation. While some individuals are entirely focused on trying to reduce internal and external pressure, others, on the contrary, actively work to intensify it. One person's stress becomes an opportune moment for them to extract valuable information, gain a strategic advantage, or position themselves more favorably for the opponent's subsequent downfall. Niccolò Machiavelli once aptly observed, "It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both." When a person breaks under pressure, they evoke neither fear nor love. Instead, they engender only contempt. People inevitably lose respect for those who are unable to handle stressful situations professionally. One's moment of weakness becomes a permanent evaluation of their abilities and competence by others. Pressure itself is not the enemy. What truly matters is a person's reaction to that pressure. If one masters their reaction, pressure transforms into a powerful tool for eliminating weak competitors who, when under stress, inadvertently reveal their vulnerabilities. The maxim: pressure creates diamonds. Number 5. Sympathy extortion. Skilled manipulators never resort to direct attack. Instead, they skillfully create an appearance of vulnerability. They share carefully constructed narratives of their hardships and struggles, strategically reveal feigned weaknesses, and cleverly make others feel like they're saviors, while the victim is consumed by a sense of self-importance and usefulness. The manipulator is focused on extracting every shred of valuable information they possess. The sympathy trap works flawlessly because it fundamentally alters the power dynamic. Instead of feeling threatened, a person begins to feel like a protector. Instead of guarding their secrets, they share them, aiming to help. Instead of maintaining a safe distance, they create an intimacy that can later be used against them. True vulnerability is rare and always appears messy, spontaneous. Feigned vulnerability, in contrast, is polished, meticulously planned, and purposeful. It is crucial to learn to distinguish genuine need from strategic manipulation. The person who can tell the perfect heart-wrenching story often turns out to be the most dangerous predator in the room. One person's compassion becomes another's competitive advantage. Every secret shared to help the manipulator transforms into information they use against their victim. Every weakness revealed in solidarity becomes ammunition for future attacks. Machiavelli once astutely observed, "Men are so simple-minded and so engrossed in their immediate needs that a deceiver will always find plenty who are ready to be deceived." The immediate need to help and connect makes a person vulnerable to deception. While some focus on being a good person, others focus on being a successful manipulator. 1. Person's kindness becomes a weapon in another's hands. True strength is demonstrated in the ability to help without revealing one's own vulnerabilities. It lies in offering support without sharing secrets. It shows compassion without displaying weakness. One must master this delicate balance, otherwise there is a risk of becoming a victim of those who have already mastered it perfectly. The maxim: help without revealing. Number 6. Information exchange. Social groups, like complex organisms, function based on an invisible yet powerful currency: information. Every secret revealed, every opinion expressed, every trust broken acquires its value in this unseen social market. When a person engages in the cycle of gossip, they are not just killing time in idle chatter. They are actually participating in an exchange of strategic intelligence that can have far-reaching consequences. And most people, unfortunately, turn out to be terrible negotiators. The economy of gossip rests on simple yet ruthless rules. Information, like a river, always flows upwards, towards power, while betrayal invariably flows downwards, towards weakness and vulnerability. A person who skillfully collects others' secrets but refrains from revealing them, gradually accumulates significant power in their hands. Conversely, one who generously shares acquired secrets without bothering to collect their own, inevitably becomes powerless and controlled. In any group, be it a circle of friends, colleagues at work, or community members, there are always so-called information brokers present. These individuals often give the impression of being interested listeners, trustworthy, and well-informed about everything happening. However, in reality, they conduct continuous intelligence operations, where the personal secrets of others become valuable commodities, and the interlocutor's trust is merely a cost on the path to obtaining this information. The most insidious and dangerous aspect of gossip is not what one says about others, but what these conversations inadvertently reveal about themselves. Every secret they share is a silent testament to their inability to keep others' secrets. Every breach of trust, like a bright advertisement, alerts others to their unreliability. Every piece of gossip a person spreads becomes a kind of testament to their true character. Niccolò Machiavelli, the great thinker of the past, once observed, "How people live is so far removed from how they ought to live, that he who abandons what is for what ought to be, strives for his ruin rather than his preservation." Many naively believe that gossip is merely a harmless social lubricant that strengthens bonds. In reality, it is a real information war, where personal secrets become bargaining chips, like ordinary goods in a market. While some focus on the ideal notion of how things should be, others masterfully utilize what actually exists, a ruthless intelligence market. To master this complex information economy, one should become an information collector, not a disseminator. A person should listen carefully to everything said around them, but contribute nothing truly valuable or compromising to the general flow. In this way, they can observe others destroying their reputation and position with their own loose tongues. Number 7. The power trap. The seventh fatal delusion is the power trap. When a power structure unjustly challenges an individual, every deep-seated instinct begins to insistently demand justice. A natural desire compels them to defend their position, prove their worth, and demonstrate their undeniable professionalism. However, this powerful instinct, seemingly so righteous, is actually a cunning snare capable of irrevocably destroying careers, undermining interpersonal relationships, and tarnishing an impeccable reputation. The fact is that power often doesn't require lengthy explanations or justifications. It typically demands unquestioning submission. Most confrontations initiated by power structures are nothing more than carefully disguised tests. Their true purpose is to reveal a person's ability to handle immense pressure, constructively receive criticism, even if it seems unfair, and maintain impeccable professionalism in the most challenging and stressful circumstances. When a person succumbs to emotions and reacts impulsively, they inevitably fail this unspoken test, thereby confirming the initial, possibly mistaken, assessment of their limitations. It is important to remember that the concept of justice, so desperately sought, often doesn't exist in its pure form within hierarchical power systems. The respect an individual expects must be earned through concrete, tangible results, not insistent demands or pointless arguments. The profound understanding an individual seeks will never be achieved by directly confronting those who hold the reins of their future. Paradoxically, any attempt at defense in such a situation only turns into an accusation. Every word spoken to justify oneself merely becomes further proof of an inability to take full responsibility. Every argument put forth only confirms the absence of the wisdom to recognize when silence serves one's interests far better than the most eloquent speech. As the great thinker Machiavelli once astutely observed, politics has no relation to morals. Thus, the moral indignation a person might feel about unfair treatment is utterly irrelevant to their career or personal success. Power operates by entirely different rules than the principles of justice. The choice facing the individual is simple: either adapt to these relentless rules, or inevitably become their victim. Wise individuals, when faced with challenges from those in power, react quite differently. They opt for strategic submission, which is then followed by a demonstration of exceptional performance. They choose to prove their true worth not through empty rhetoric or verbal battles, but through concrete, tangible results of their actions. These individuals deeply understand that today's potentially unfair criticism or accusation, with the right approach and skillful management, can very well transform into tomorrow's opportunity for growth and development. The eighth serious warning concerns the revelation of revenge. When a significant relationship ends with an act of betrayal, one party gains access to truly nuclear intelligence. All the intimate secrets, deep-seated fears, past failures, and vulnerable weaknesses of the other person. The temptation to use this confidential information as a weapon of retaliation might seem entirely justified, even righteous, in that moment. However, it's crucial to understand that revenge, executed by disclosing personal or compromising information, is a self-destructive strategy that ultimately inflicts far greater damage on the avenger than on the intended target. Every relationship is a complex, mutual exchange of valuable information, a kind of intelligence mission. During this exchange, an individual learns about the other's weaknesses and vulnerabilities, just as their own sensitive points become known to their partner. When a person, yielding to the impulse of revenge, begins to publicly expose another's secrets, they aren't merely striking at their opponent. In essence, they are inadvertently declaring themselves someone willing to weaponize personal information. It's important to remember that potential future partners, employers, and allies always pay close attention to how an individual behaves at the end of a relationship. They assess how much confidential information can be entrusted to them. Thus, an act of revenge, expressed through the disclosure of another's secrets, becomes a formidable warning to them about that person's character and trustworthiness. The most devastating aspect of such vengeful revelations lies not so much in the immediate harm inflicted upon the direct target. Its true destructive power manifests in the long-term and irreversible undermining of one's own reputation. Others inevitably conclude that this person is capable of betraying trust simply when they experience pain or disappointment. As a result, their reputation, once a valuable asset, turns to dust, losing all weight. In this context, it is apt to recall Machiavelli's wise words. Injuries ought to be inflicted all at once, so that their ill flavor may last less. Benefits ought to be conferred little by little, so that they may be relished more. If an individual nonetheless feels an inescapable need for retribution, they should carry it out through actions that absolutely cannot be linked to the disclosure of any previously entrusted confidential information. It is crucial to maintain a reputation as someone capable of keeping secrets, seeking alternative, less destructive methods for settling scores. Such restrained silence is the key to preserving one's own strength for future confrontations. Masters of power and professional strategists react to betrayal not with an emotional outburst, but with measured strategic silence. They safeguard the secrets they've acquired, viewing them as potential leverage for the future, rather than squandering them for fleeting, momentary satisfaction. A deep understanding dictates to them that undisclosed secrets possess far greater power than those cast into public view. The ninth rule concerns the so-called theater of competence. When a person feels internally inadequate or consumed by insecurity, their speech often strives to compensate for these hidden feelings by actively displaying ostentatious confidence, feigned expertise, and contrived importance. Such overcompensation is nothing more than a carefully staged psychological performance. This theater, however, cannot deceive anyone around them. On the contrary, it only reveals the true state of affairs. Paradoxically, an individual's persistent need to prove their capability ultimately becomes irrefutable evidence of their inner inadequacy. From the depths of insecurity springs a kind of verbal desperation, manifesting in several characteristic behavioral patterns. The person begins to drop prominent names in an attempt to appear influential, over-explains excessively to seem all-knowing, and unceremoniously interrupts conversational partners to demonstrate their own importance. Each of these actions, however, eloquently testifies to the exact opposite of what the individual is trying to convey. Their performance, therefore, becomes an unwitting amusement for everyone around them. True competence, by its very nature, requires no advertisement or demonstration. Genuine expertise needs no lengthy explanations. And real, unfeigned confidence does not seek external validation. When a person tirelessly attempts to showcase these qualities solely through words, they only irrefutably prove that they do not, in fact, possess them at their core. The most insidious aspect of the so-called theater of competence is that it strips the individual of unpredictability, making their behavior easily readable. Others readily discern the levers that activate a person's insatiable desire to prove their importance. They skillfully figure out how to manipulate them, compelling them to disclose confidential information, make hasty decisions, or act against their own best interests. As Machiavelli once wisely remarked, "Nothing great was ever achieved without danger." The prospect of appearing incompetent seems an insurmountable barrier to someone in a state of deep insecurity. However, a far greater danger lies in inadvertently confirming one's own incompetence through desperate, excessive compensation. It is this fear, the fear of appearing vulnerable, that paradoxically transforms a person into a truly weak being. True virtuosos of their craft prefer their achievements and the fruits of their labor to build their good name, rather than diligently constructing it through continuous self-praise. They feel an inner peace, even if those around them do not immediately recognize their true worth, for they possess an unwavering confidence in their ability to convincingly demonstrate it when circumstances demand, at a critical moment. 10th, the trap of promises. When a person finds themselves under pressure, facing insurmountable demands or inflated expectations that they are currently unable to meet, their mouth begins to write checks that their actual capabilities cannot cash. At first glance, promises seem like a panacea, for they ostensibly resolve urgent difficulties without requiring the immediate deployment of real resources or abilities. However, every promise generates an obligation that, over time, only accrues interest, much like a financial debt. The art of making promises is, in essence, the language of those in desperate straits. Individuals resort to it when they lack immediate, effective solutions for current difficulties. Instead of bravely facing harsh reality, they prefer to construct illusory futures in their imagination that are not destined to materialize. Instead of striving to create genuine value, they merely engender unfounded, deceptive hopes. The seductive nature of the psychology of promises lies in their apparent ease, as they require no upfront cost or effort. A person can promise radical changes, significant improvements, flawless task execution, or a brilliant performance without making any immediate investment. However, the true reckoning comes later, when trust is irrevocably shattered and faith in the person is undermined. Every unfulfilled obligation serves as undeniable proof of an individual's unreliability. Every broken word becomes convincing evidence that their promises lack genuine value. And every unkept guarantee eloquently demonstrates that momentary, temporary relief holds more weight for them than a long-term, untarnished reputation. The great thinker Machiavelli once proclaimed a truth that still resonates in human interactions. He who builds on the people builds on mud. Promises, by their very nature, are constructed on a foundation of hope, which, as is well known, is as unstable and changeable as mud itself. People are inherently inclined to believe in others' commitments, for in them they see potential solutions to their own problems. However, when these promises go unfulfilled, both the one who made them and the fragile foundation upon which they rested collapse simultaneously. Strategically minded players prefer to make fewer promises, but consistently exceed expectations, rather than indulging in grand commitments they cannot possibly fulfill. They promise modestly but deliver significantly more, thereby building a reputation for reliability in action, not empty rhetoric. Their mouth, perhaps, has betrayed them throughout their life, and they likely didn't even realize it. Every conversation is a potential minefield, where a single misspoken word can instantly destroy years of meticulous positioning and effort. Every social interaction is like a complex chess game, where each word is either a strategically calculated move or a fatal error leading to defeat. The 10 situations examined are by no means rare or exceptional occurrences. These are daily phenomena happening to everyone around, right now, in their everyday lives. The distinction between those who fall victim to circumstances and those who emerge victorious lies not in intelligence level or an abundance of opportunities. It resides in a deep understanding that words have far-reaching consequences, while silence, conversely, possesses immense power. Machiavelli grasped the wisdom that most people never master. The game of life is won not by those who thoughtlessly utter everything that comes to mind, but by those who carefully control their thoughts before speaking a single word. Every word that issues from a person's mouth either strengthens their position or, conversely, weakens it. Every silence either serves as their protection or deprives them of an opportunity. In the modern world, where every word is recorded, stored in memory, and can potentially be used against a person, verbal discipline transforms into the most valuable of skills. The ability to speak strategically, rather than yielding to emotions, determines whether an individual will control their own destiny or fall victim to their own voice. The most successful people throughout history were not the most talkative. They were the most strategic thinkers. They spoke when their words could build and remained silent when their words could destroy. In the greatest game of power and influence, it has always been understood that a person's mouth can be both their undeniable advantage and an exceedingly dangerous burden. Every individual inevitably faces a choice. Will they allow their words to continue sabotaging their own success, or will they master the ancient art of strategic communication? Will they imprudently supply potential adversaries with valuable information through thoughtless conversations? Or will they join those who have grasped the wisdom that true power manifests in a whisper, while weakness invariably shouts? For an individual's words will either serve as the foundation for building their empire, or transform into a weapon that adversaries will undoubtedly use to completely demolish and bring it down. The decision made in this moment determines much. It is an individual's words that determine the path their life takes. It is important to remember, in a world where many are unable to bridle their tongue, the person who masters their speech thereby masters their destiny.